one of the things that I've noticed in the great beings that I have privileged to be close to, like Father Bede Griffiths and like Tuxi Rinpoche, I was at both of their deathbeds, the deathbeds of these great masters, and a part of me was expecting them to sit in the lotus position, just serenely floating through death. So I was shocked to see that they were really struggling, but in the middle of their struggle, what was their teaching was that they were constantly praying, constantly going deeper, constantly opening up. Old men should be explorers, searching for further intensity, a deeper communion, says T.S. Eliot. Could we look at that poem that we chose for this section, that extraordinary poem which is on page 78, which you wanted to read here to really express this vision of the soul that Hesse has?
Well, this poem is called Confession.
Yeah. I'm glad you chose this one, because you could have chosen a more airy poem, but this is the real McCoy. This is the true vodka, isn't it?
Why don't you read it?
No, you read it. I want to hear your voice, Max.
Confession. The games of glamour and glitter, I have played them with gusto.
God, yes.
Let others have goals and ambitions. For me, living is enough. Whatever has moved me has all become a symbol. I always feel the power of this moment, the presence of boundless oneness in my life. To make my life inspired and abundant, I read in life's open book of symbols, because now I have that depth within me. My eternal, changeless essence is at peace.
My eternal, changeless essence is at peace. But what's so moving about the poem, and it's called Confession, is that that cannot be arrived at until you've played out all the illusory aspects of your nature. You have to live, sometimes very darkly and difficultly, to be able to understand the nature of illusion.
And it doesn't mean that your body has no pains.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you don't,
Feel
you have not
lonely and
lost
abandoned.
people
Yes.
that were very close to you and very precious to you.
Yes.
So, but that journey towards the center, as a long journey, as a journey that isn't filled with solutions,
Right.
but it's filled with trials and tribulations. But the trials and tribulations are the waves
Yes.
on the water. Those are the storms, but the ground underneath
Yes.
is something that you have become in contact with. And you don't become in contact with by hurrying, by amassing whatever it is, accumulating, and what looks like fulfillments of desire, because in the fulfillments of desire, you basically forget what you need and who needs you, and only through these stages of moving beyond what you desire, as Hesse says in another poem, in the poem Happiness,
Yes.
then you realize, what is life wanting from you? And another line in one of these poems in Season of the Souls, there's a short 3-word line that says, trust your life.
Trust your life.
Trust your life. It isn't that
Don't force your life, don't shape your life, don't invent some fantasy life and then project it onto the divine and expect the divine to give it to you. Trust the deepest rhythms of your life.
Once you get what you want,
yes,
there's only one thing certain, that you want more.
Yes.
And when you get more of the more that you want, there's only one thing certain. You want more.
Yes. Well, you know that Oscar Wilde said, if you want to punish somebody, give them exactly what they want.
Yeah.
Because whatever you want from a consciousness that isn't awake is actually going to trap you further.
Yeah.
Say you want fame, you'll get fame, and then you'll find that fame is a horror. Say you want money, you'll get money, then you'll find that everybody's jealous of you. Say you want beauty, incredible beauty, then you'll find that beauty has a tragic edge. All the things that the ego wants actually involves the ego in disastrous dramas which play themselves out and can end in terrible disillusion and bitterness and even death.
And the goal is fulfillment.
Right.
But the glass that you're trying to fill becomes bigger and bigger, and there's more space actually that you need to fill. And satisfaction means actually, in Latin, that something is enough.
Yes. Contentment.
And that is something we don't have anymore. We have no notions of sufficiency.
I was sitting in my log cabin the other day and listening to Bach and listening to Ich habe genug, I have enough, sung by Matthias Goerne, and suddenly an overwhelming wave of peace swept me, and I understood how deeply the old ancient spiritual culture of Europe was rooted in this vision of contentment, and how tragic our loss of this spacious peace has been, and how deeply now we need it as we really face the biggest storm in human history. You cannot begin to face this storm from a hysterical reaction to it. The only place from which you can hope to stand strong in the storm is the place of changeless essence, the place of great peace, the place of trusting your life beyond any kind of reason.
And the big confusion or the big temptation is that we confuse contentment with complacency.
That's right.
And at the very end, in that poem, Stages, he addresses that precisely.
Well, we're going to get to stages, but one of the things that is very clear from everything that we've been saying, and very, very important, is that Hesse's vision was founded in not only a very profound love of the spirit, and not only in a very high dedication to the calling of a poet, but it was founded in a very dry-eyed analysis of modernity, because he understood, at a level I think that only Rilke understood so deeply, that modernity was tragic and was destined to self-destruct, and that all the technological gewgaws and progress that his own friends were celebrating with such exuberance was actually a tragic farce that would end in the devastation of the planet. And now that in 2012 we are at that moment when we see that all of our technological agendas have only created a vast, stinking ash pit of a wasteland, Hesse's very sober voice teaching us to get over the illusion of modernity is more important than ever, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because Hesse actually at one point writes, now the trains run faster, the cars make you get faster where you want to go, and therefore we are happier. Sometimes I think...
That's so true, isn't it? Just look around, go to a mall, you see people radiantly happy.
Because there are these magic words like faster.
Yes, more.
That, easy.
Yes.
What about, since there are so many time-saving devices that everybody has, and people today, when their computer is slow, they're talking about that they need to wait for an information maybe 3 seconds instead of half a second. And they get sort of irritated, right? Because the computer is so slow. But with all this saved time, there should be somewhere a huge bank of saved time. And everybody should have more time.
Yes, but nobody has time because our lives have speeded up unbelievably. We're multitasking. People are like hamsters on a wheel.
It's a total silly spiral. And then because of all that, there is Paul Virilio wrote a book, Frenetic Stagnation.
Frenetic stagnation, but it's not just silly. I actually think it's one of the real disasters of our time, because the only way in which profound spiritual progress can happen is from stillness and silence and peace and a leisure for the soul.
And then the managers today usually after the first heart attack or something happens that is terrible for them, after 25 years of incredible activity and being incredibly productive and getting more done, then they go on the pilgrimage and go to Santiago de Compostela. And then they go to a Buddhist meditation retreat, and it takes them an hour to walk around the circle in very slow, deliberate steps. So why not in the beginning
bring in that slowness and that
bring a natural movement back into what is the way we operate in this world?